Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast from your host, Imperial Dane, Master Propaganda, Hero of Strike, Defender of the Fatherland. We're off here to a 1 versus 1 on Crossroads. In the south, we got Fredbrik fighting here for the Wehrmacht, Germany. Taking on the role here of the 2nd Panzer Division versus the north, we got here Stuve fighting for the United States of America, Freedom and Democracy. Here taking on the role of the 3rd Armored Division. We got Storm, Lightning War and Mechanized here for Fredbrik with Mines, Infantry and Panzerfaust versus Heavy Cavalry, Mechanized and Armor Company here for Stuve with Double Infantry and a single Pathfinder Bulletin here, which is a bit peculiar seeing as he's got no Pathfinders. So I'm guessing that might have been a holdover from a previous build or setup he's got there with his commanders. Double rifles out there for Stuve as Fredbrik's pushing westwards here. Infantry company set up that way, sort of further for Sud, heading east, focusing on the western side of the map with MT-42 and Pioneers moving up there, and likely the Grenadiers will moving up there. Otherwise, it makes even less sense to place it there. So he's likely going to push for the fuel point in the cemetery, which isn't a half bad idea. This one in the east can be a bit tricky for the southern player of the Wehrmacht to hold due to how it can be a bit easy in some ways to creep up with. If it's set up here, it's a lot easier to defend the western fuel point from the south. Anyways, moving ahead there, grabbing points. Oh! Bit too fast there, bit too fast. Rifle moving ahead here, sandbags being laid down. Grenadiers actually shifting away, moving towards the central house. And before setting up, the Pioneers taking a bit of damage. And this kid's getting a bit lucky, Rifle quickly suppressed. Grenadiers moving up through here, troops suppressed, and not more Grenadiers on the way for Fredbrik. Troops moving ahead with more Grenadiers on the way for Fredbrik. The Riflemen pushed back. Grabbing the points there. Box there secured. Fuel secured here by Stuve. Fredbrik can't immediately just sort of jump upon, at least he can in theory, but he also wants to keep the area here clear as well from any interception by his opponent. So that sort of leaves Fredbrik in a bit of a curious state. What does he exactly do to get this back, and how vulnerable will he leave himself to counter from Stuve? So there you go, pushing forward to the CoH point first. Looks like he's going to try and secure the area there. In fact, seems to be so far ignoring the fuel point. Right there though, be no mistake of the fuel point. Fredbrik running up straight to the Rifleman there. Again, up close, the Rifleman will win against the Grenadiers simply because they have twice as much DPS up close. Tank trap there by barbed wire, often short. Fredbrik can't easily use it for cover, not bad, but right now we can see all of a sudden Fredbrik's position being very exposed. Looking like overall he made the wrong call here. Basically should have focused on trying to secure the fuel point instead of just trying to secure the air around. I mean, okay, you can understand why he'd want to do it, but in this case it meant obviously if it didn't work out, he doesn't have the fuel point and he gets, you know, flanked and outdone here by Stuve. And in fact, he didn't even enforce it, which makes it a bit weird, you know, because he's just sent more Grenadiers up to support here, but for some reason, again, he just didn't. Now, because he's actually trying to wire off the tank trap from Stuve, but he's taking too much damage there. There's a small likelihood of losing the Pioneers to Stuve's infantry. There with 3 Riflemen. Troops back here, making way back for reinforcement. Grenadiers setting out, Riflemen hanging about here, and we got Grenadiers heading eastwards. More Riflemen on the way there for Stuve. No sign of take up yet for Fredbrik. Could be a heavy tier 1, which could signal a tier 3 rush there from Fredbrik versus Stuve. Certainly seems to be increasingly popular with the Wehrmacht crowd. This might be sort of an increasing feeling that tier 2 isn't quite cutting it anymore, at least not as cutting it if you actually want to go for tanks. The tanks will generally sort of serve better in supporting infantry. There we go, we got a 4th Grenadier squad on the way there for Fredbrik and the 2nd Panzer Division. In the east point there being secured. I'm going to push it back. So again, we can see Fredbrik's initial plan basically scuppered. Did not work out there. Again, not enough support. Again, he was quick, I think, too quick to veer off and rather undermine his own goals, which really only benefited Stuve, who's going to, I think, get a resource advantage over there for Fredbrik. Quick shifting about here. Pretty risky again. I mean, there's not so many windows here. The problem is he's still exposed out in the open versus a unit in head of garrison cover there. Also comes up for the units flanking it, but he's pushing on. Let's see, he wants to get into the house. Let us in, you dirty Yankees. Let us in. There we go. He's just constantly backing up before there. I'm not entirely sure why he's doing it like that. I'm guessing he's just trying to spare as many shots on his men. But there you go, up closing in. Grenadiers down supporting. We need to retreat. So ultimately there, worked out well for Stuve again. Fredbrik here got punished for an engagement that really wasn't winnable for him. Meanwhile, though, he's securing the rest of the map parts here. Esmond's going down the fuel point there. Not bad, not bad. Shots fired, grabbing the point there. Back here, troop reinforcing. Another MD42 that's looking like a very heavy tier 1 there, and certainly reeks of a tier 3 rush here for Fredbrik. Oh, that is going to be a really slow tier 2, also a bit risky. We got the captain on the way here for Stuve though, so that likely means a steward. Interesting choice for the Wehrmacht, in particular against the one who's going for tier 3 rush. You'd figure maybe to an extent more lieutenant, but I suppose again, because he is going for a tier 3 rush, and Stuve is sensing that he wants to prepare by going for the captain and all down to tank weapons, that way see off the Panthers. Perhaps feeling like again he just can't deal with tier 2 against that sort of kind of German game, so I imagine it's the mind sort of set here. Stuve is in. Again, he is already seeing the tier 3 rush and he wants to prepare for it by going for what actually has the most counters for it, which is the company command push for the captain of bazookas and of course anti-tank guns. Plus, of course, he can still use the steward to push against Fredbrik until he can sort of, bring out more counters. That goes that way pretty good there. Of course, it also means he can't upgrade his rifleman right away since he'll of course be going for the steward. That means no BARs, right? Of course, and keep up the pressure on this. He can quickly follow up with the BARs and likes, but he might give Fredbrik's infantry otherwise more time, sort of bring weapons to bear against Stuve. We have still no tech up there for Fredbrik, and 4 grenadiers, 2 MD42s, very heavy infantry presence there from Fredbrik versus Stuve. Of course, Stuve is also pretty heavy there with 4 riflemen, of course the captain, who pretty much counts as pretty effective infantry as well. Rifle flanking, actually making a bit of a mistake running too close to the pioneers, and they can see the support gunners up close can actually do some damage there to the riflemen. Then these continue to fight. There's the rifleman up west here, point being taken, mines swept out. Then these moving up there for Germany, the 2nd Panzer Division, which was also known as the Vienna Division. I have to say one out loud, apparently a bit louder or clearer, because someone actually, I don't know, didn't understand it, but be Vienna as in the Austrian capital of Vienna. It was referred to that because the division came from there. Originally anyways, which was part of the German sort of divisional system. Most divisions would be sort of recruited and maintained from a general area of Germany. It was why the CoH2 Deutschland was called the CoH2 Deutschland, because it actually went against that and actually recruited from across Germany. So that was why it got the name it did. Little fun fact there. Got point being secured by the grenadiers, troops here reinforcing, healing. Tech up there for Fredbrik finally. Point there secured. Back here, riflemen reinforcing. Weapon racks on the way for Stuve. So he's not going straight for the steward though. He is not going straight for it. He's going to first focus on the weapon racks, though, which means likely BAR start pressure against Fredbrik. Fredbrik is not really upgrading him his men though. There's flamethrowers on the way to help deal with units inside houses. Then he's being pushed back. He's got a big push there from Stuve and the 3rd Armoured Division. Troops healing, reinforcing, weapon max ready. Interesting enough, he's not grabbing any BARs as of yet. Mortar, so that's a really heavy tier 1 again. 4 grenadiers, 2 MD42s, 1 mortar crew. S-mines up there, causing quite a few losses there amongst Stuve's infantry. Good work. A lot of Wehrmacht players tend to neglect S-mines. Hell, I forget them from time to time. But again, well-placed S-mines can turn out to be quite critical in sort of slowing down your opponent's movements, giving you more breathing time and space. But certainly very much looking at a tier 3 rush here from Fredbrik. I mean, you do not go for that many sort of tier 1 units unless you're planning on hitting tier 3 as fast as possible. Of course, that still means he needs to move there fast. You also got Telemans here. Interesting spot there. He's clearly expecting some kind of steward light tank here from his opponents trying to set up in this position. Then we might be more likely to catch it and perhaps be less likely to sort of discard by mines. No idea if that's going to pay off though for him. That's a pretty sketchy spot. But there you go. Heavy cavalry from Stuve and quick smoke call in there on the grenadiers and the MD42 there. Quickly messing up Fredbrik's otherwise strong defense by suddenly opening up here with head-on assault but also flank assault. So this is where actually Stuve would have benefited more from grenades, because they sort of work quite well, with smoke. Could just sort of pop the grenade through the smoke and just clear out the Germans on the other side. So weapon actually not utilised, and overall feel like he might have benefited more from grenades. Hell, it could have been he actually thought he was researching grenades and then realised, ah crap, I didn't research grenades, I researched pineapples and BARs. So there you go, rather than push back. Assault there faltered a bit, but there's also a secondary assault here from Stuve on the CoH point. So that's actually a pretty good move. I mean, a good player tends to maybe not launch just one attack, but 2 attacks, usually sort of within supporting distance, so you can that way modify the assault, like one of them, for example. Again, in this case, things been going sort of reasonably well, maybe just well enough, he could have shifted away troops from here to support the eastern attack. Either way, Captain Rifle with BAR stood about there. The rare Captain BAR, but again, it is increasingly happening. Again, some players do go for the upgrade on the Captain to increase his firepower, since the Captain is a pretty good infantry, again, as previously mentioned, and if you throw BARs on him, it becomes even better. It basically becomes Lieutenant with On Me, which is a pretty good ability in its own right. I got the M51 Stuart moving about here. MG42 setting up here. Bit risky position and right in front of the Stuart. Less good there by Fredbrik. Less good. And he actually is going for the light mechanized company, so he went for an extremely heavy tier 1 and they didn't rush tier 3, which he probably could have pulled off to an extent. So, bit awkward there for Fredbrik. Bit awkward. But we got push up the west, and we also got to push up the far east. So, Fredbrik, he is staying active versus Stuve. He is staying very active, and he's also managing all of his troops actually quite well. I mean, I don't think a lot of players could just handle that many machine guns plus a mortar and all those grenadiers as I think as easily as Fredbrik is capable of doing. So that certainly stands out. And also just keeps up pressure. I mean, he's clearly putting some effort into the centre because that's where Stuve is, but he's also, focusing on the rest of the map. So that's just further, kudos there to Fredbrik for just managing all of this quite well. But again, Stuve has also got a lot of intel on the field, and he's not afraid of just bunching up here and there to push back Fredbrik quickly. Threatening with wipes, particularly with the BARs, there's an increased likelihood of just units getting wiped if you're not careful. Grab the centre. I imagine there'll be a Pack 40 out, but otherwise he should probably prioritise getting out tanks as fast as possible. I mean, he doesn't have doctrines that allow for sort of real call-ins, except for like a command tank. Certainly through the S-mines there. Oh, the MG42 needs to get out of there pretty quickly. Might even lose it there. Oh, he got lucky. But advancement in the far east, we've got the MG42 that's arriving in this northeast of their position. And of course, got the mortar, and that, of course, one advantage Fredbrik does have. He does have artillery, whereas Stuve has not gone for any mortars yet. Or any pack houses. I mean, he could go for the pack houses. He could go for it. Up north here, Pioneers doing the reactions there. But we got the Stuart on the job here, and that means the Pioneers will have to retreat. And still no take up there for Fredbrik. We got the Pack 40, the Panzerabwehr Kanone 40. Losing the eastern fuel point right from the Grenadiers here, and the Grenadiers without an upgrade are likely going to lose there. And that you got the lack of light machine guns is not doing Fredbrik a world of favours. Though he is using his machine guns, I think, quite flexibly, fluidly. Also very good move there. More smoke there on the MG42 from Stuve. Nice use there. Though I'm sure Fredbrik disagrees with it. But honestly, if players who go for heavy carabine don't use the off-map smoke barrels, sort of reflexively like that. But Stuve clearly does, and he's actually using it with reasonable effect. And in this case, it might not be enough to save those riflemen, though. Apparently, Stuve just gets lucky enough that those riflemen pulled it off despite everything. That's got to feel a bit frustrating here. Riflemen finding there, but the bigger pressure is basically happening in the centre. We've got Grenadiers, MG42 there, mortifying down. Riflemen need to be a bit careful about standing about out in the open like that. Of course, easy targets for the machine guns, but also just easy targets for the mortars. But at the same time as all this is happening, Captain flanks us south, preventing Fredbrik from easily reinforcing the front line, forcing the machine gun to pull back. Still pushing up for the centre. There should be aware there's a Pack 40, but he quickly veers out of the arc of fire. They make it much harder for him. Good hit there, good hit. MG42 setting up number 2 here to support. Could get another hit, then the Stuart, and the Stuart gets away. Pack 40 there, suffering losses. That was probably what's causing it. He was basically killing off the crew members there. Got rapid suppressed by the MG42. Pretty intense action there in the West Grenadiers versus the Stuart there. No Panzerfaust because he's too occupied with the centre, but he does repulse Stuve's assault. The Stuart was able to do a lot of damage. He did suffer also casualties himself, and will be, I think, a bit out of it for a while. More weapons being handed out there to the rifleman and the captain if necessary. Apparently doesn't have enough munitions for it. Back here, still not taken for Fredbrik. I definitely think going for some armor should be a priority right now for him. Having a doctrine there, I think, would also be a pretty good choice there for Fredbrik. We got a quick Panzerfaust, then the Stuart light tank penetrates the side and damages the engine. Grab the centre point there. MG42 up, then instead of push back. Pushing up. He really wants to kill it, but right now he's making a mistake there again. He's basically pushing the support weapon up there with an exposed flank, and we can see that Stuve is very quickly able to punish Fredbrik for it. Gonna use this and running away, and the Pack 40 now has to somehow get out of there. I can understand why he wants us to do it. It's a real pain in the arse. But leaving anti-tank exposed like that is not good. In particular when you're getting your opponent so many rifles with BARs just swinging about. Pushing up the eastern side. They're just actually now refusing to engage Fredbrik on the centre. I think that's actually very astute. Instead just hitting him everywhere else. Very good counter response there by Stuve here against Fredbrik. Steals the Pak 40. And now he's got 2 anti-tank guns versus Fredbrik's 0. And he's still not taking up there. That is definitely, I think, something that should be a priority for Fredbrik now here. Take up and panzers. Still is cutting off some of his opponent's resources, but Stuve is still ahead there. Though it looks like Stuve is giving Fredbrik one benefit. He seems to be aiming here for the Pershing tank. He's not taking up yet, not making any efforts to prepare for it, no cash or anything like that. So it certainly looks like he could be aiming for a Pershing, which could certainly help Fredbrik, you know, move towards Migan himself, of course, as long as he actually does it in a timely fashion, which so far, though, Fredbrik has really yet to do. And send the arm pierce rounds that for increased damage, very good. Also good ability if utilised properly. Back here, he is finally taking out there. Finally. Actually, it's not to get out, you know, some Stuks or Panzer IV to that way challenge Stuve on the field and possibly challenge this Pershing tank. Rifleman down the far east here, overall again, trying to avoid any sort of needless engagements there with Fredbrik and his forces. That can also, I would say, is a very important skill, knowing when to engage and knowing when not to engage. And clearly, Stuve is displaying some of that here. And again, he's just sort of constantly circling about, looking to just harass Fredbrik and also force Fredbrik to react to his movements. I mean, that pretty much means now these forces in the centre are actually very exposed because it's attaching units to deal with the interlopers here, causing havoc in his rear lines. So that is a very good move there by Stuve, putting a lot of pressure on Fredbrik, who is finally able to take up. He's finally building the Suprema Corps. And again, 14 for him. Again, Stuve is committing a mistake of his own, which again is very much strategic, which is he's going for the Pershing. There goes the Pomacor down there for Fredbrik. In the centre, though, he is being overwhelmed here by Stuve's bigger pushes. Could lose the mortar there. Ooh, got the Vierslins. A tiny victory there for Fredbrik and the 2nd Panzer Division, but no Panzerfaust on the Stuart light tank. And up here, Grenadiers fighting versus Riflemen. They got the Pak 40, we can't steal it. He can go for the Panther 4 now. He could also go for a Stuk. He could go for an Ostwind, but I imagine Fredbrik is aware he's a bit too late there to just rush out an Ostwind without any anti-tank. So he has to go for a Panther 4 or a Stuk here, but that way have a chance there versus Stuve and the 3rd Armoured Division. Are we seeing anything here for Fredbrik? No. Not at all. There we go. Panther 4 now for Fredbrik and the 2nd Panzer Division. Stuart pulling back there with a damaged engine. 10 kills, close to virtually 2. More BARs being handed out there. More riflemen for Stuve. Just actually aiming for 5 riflemen. He could have say gone for rangers instead, but he's aiming just for all riflemen here. Still no tack up, no cashers either. So again, it's very clear he's aiming for sort of a super infantry build there with the until you get out a Pershing. Bit rare to see riflemen going for the Americans to go for 5 riflemen, but I mean, there seems to be an overall heavier push in the meta at the moment for just more infantry to an extent because you need it. So I suppose 5. No, he cancelled it. He cancelled it. Might have been misclicked then. Perhaps Stu was thinking of something else, or perhaps there was just a change of heart. Hard to say there with Stuve, but there we go. Panther 4 out there for Fredbrik. Actually gave him something to challenge the Stuart with, but also the infantry with. And interesting enough, Stuve has not recaptured the Pak 40, which gives Fredbrik's Panther 4 a bit more. So there you go. Panther Faust and the Stuart. In this case, though, Stuve apparently not expecting it. I'm not entirely sure. Has not kept supporting nearby, so the Panther 4 has a good chance of getting the Stuart unless he gets lucky. He did not. Tried to pop smoke in time, but he didn't. So instead, he just ends up wasting 50 munitions on it. So that's pretty good news for Fredbrik. That means 1 BAR less, or a bazooka less, and for that matter, 1 smoke screen less also. Still pushing ahead with the Panther 4, trying to clear out more of the Yankees. And also fresh push up the west side there by Fredbrik, as all of this is happening here. And as they're being pushed back, they're leaving the flank of the mortar crew supported on flank, but they're going before setting up quickly to cover it. Very good. And the anti-tank and finally arriving on the scene here for Stuve, who's getting ever closer to the M26 Pershing in the far west. MD42 moves straight to the captain here with his BARs. That's a very bad spot there. That's a wipe. You'd have to be absurdly lucky for the MD42, I think, to get out of that one. And yeah, he didn't. So that was a mistake there by Fredbrik, cost him the machine gun crew there. Along with his experience, of course, meant his opponent gets an MD42. That is pretty bad there for Fredbrik. In the east, the Riflemen continue to fight against the Panther IV, taking losses as the high close shells pounds against them. They're going to tank and shoots, misses. Back here, nothing further going on there. No Stoops, no Panther IV. Whereas now, Stuve has the M26 Pershing tank on the field. Which is an interesting side note, was actually only equipped to the 3rd Armoured Division. There's also a Super Pershing, which is basically a Pershing that had been outgunned with, I think, 100mm gun or something like that, and was it just a high velocity gun, and a lot more armour. Only one of them saw service, so I don't know where they specifically went, which unit specifically went to. Quick Panther service against the Pershing, doesn't have much of an actual impact. But the actual impact of the Pershing is clear. Fredbrik is going for the Stuve tab counter. And good lord, units wiped by the Pershing in a single hit. That looks like they're just down to 3 men, so not entirely unit that easily wiped, but still quite an impact there versus Fredbrik. Fredbrik, as always, maintaining good map control here versus Stuve. Again, the Pershing has allowed Fredbrik more chance to get that, and certainly now with the Panther IV on the field, it is forcing Stuve to have to be a bit more careful with his infantry, since the Panther IV can punish it decently. This is advancing riflemen to almost down there for Fredbrik. Sturmgeschütz. Back here, Pioneers there with S-mines. A lot of S-mines there from Fredbrik. A lot of S-mines. There's the reinforcing. Goes to push back. They're under fire from the Pershing and the rear echelons. Poor Dieter there, bit the dust. Yeah, going to centre, captain suppressed. And there's the pushing up. We got the Panther IV joining in, Stuve then reserve, ready to deal with any Pershings that might poke out their heads a bit too far. Got the M1 there firing at the Panther IV with armor piercing knives. There you go. Oh! He actually sets off the telemine! He sets off the telemine that Fredbrik actually laid down. There's about to think, I don't think that telemine's ever going to go off, but it did! And against the Pershing too! That was definitely worth 50 munitions there for Fredbrik. That was probably the best 50 munitions he's spent this match. That Pershing went up in flames. Yeah, their mines are definitely, I think, doing a lot there for Fredbrik. They're slowing down Stuve, and in this case, helped him stop the Pershing, meaning again, Stuve's big push for the Pershing, all the resources, all the tempo he gave up there was nullified in a matter of moments. Nice work there by Fredbrik. The Essence wiped out. We can see the casualties only piling up upon Stuve, and he still hasn't bothered to recruit that pack 40. He has forgotten about it. And he got another anti-tank in the way for Stuve. More to find the rifleman. And then going to tank, and we got relief infantry now here for Fredbrik to help, I think, offset some of the damage he's suffering from all those BAR wielding infantrymen that Stuve is just charging about there. There is upgrading his grenadiers. Again, as you can see, that they can very quickly melt away. Even at Veteran 3, there's just all of the BARs here that Stuve is bringing to bear. And he's got a lot of firepower now in his infantry. A lot of firepower. But then going forward to holding that in the open. He could smoke it if he wanted to. Could smoke it. Looks like he is not interested. There we go, flank on machine gun. One awesome squad there running with the second one on the way. There's welcome to bring up. Morton needs to retreat. Panther IV being fixed up. Stuve could offer quite a bit of covering fire with the pendulum machine guns. There we go, Stuve bombarding. Stuve is close to another Pershing. But will it be able to perform better and longer than the previous Pershing? Will it meet the same fate? Yeah, that's not going to work out very well for Fredbrik. They just head on Ostrom assault straight into a lot of BAR wielding riflemen. Another Panzer IV there for Fredbrik. He could, try and set up for Tiger, but I think Fredbrik at this point realised again that the current situation it is, he'd probably just give the match back here to Stuve and just going for more tanks now while he can. I think his overall be better choice there by Fredbrik. But he could in theory try and set up for Tiger tank, but again, it would give Stuve a good chance of just cementing control here. So with the Panzer IV, he can just push harder against Stuve and do more damage faster. Pioneer's doing a lot of damage there. Panzer IV falling back, got a deeper flank here with the Panzer IV looking to sort of outmaneuver some of the support once they get behind Stuve's positions. That's a pretty nice move there by Fredbrik. A bit risky since there is no support for it, no reconnaissance. I mean, he's basically going in blind with this Panzer IV there and could risk, in theory hitting a mine. Though again, Stuve, despite having gone for heavy cavalry, has not actually used the rifleman field defenses there. So, but there you go. Second M26 pushing out there for Stuve. Pretty hefty duel of bullets there, not quite working out though for Fredbrik. The rifle just had much more fun. There you go, both Panzer IVs here going in, got the person coming up there, Panzer IVs trying to avoid this. Oh, there we go, got the rifle on the run here. Oh dear, where's the Stuve? There we go, Panzer IVs, there go damaging in the Pershing. Pretty bad there for Stuve, pretty bad. Panzer IV about to go down into the anti-tank guns. Trying to sort of catch the Panzer IV there. There we go, got the Panzer IV, but he's about to lose the second Pershing here to Fredbrik, and there you go, Stuve lights it up. And now it's anti-tank guns are getting overwhelmed here by Fredbrik's Grenadiers here, the second Panzer Division, knocking quite a hole there in Stuve's defences. And stealing one of the anti-tank guns. So now Stuve's based in a bad position again. He's just expended so many resources and 2 Pershings, but can't call any more medium armour, and all he's got in return to show off for it is a single Panzer IV, but he's lost several anti-tank guns in the process as well. So this has not exactly been good for Stuve again, despite some good tactical maneuvers. His armour handling and strategy, I think overall was a lot weaker than his infantry elements, and well, that's rather again Fredbrik here. I think a good chance to shift things back in his favour, and he's now very much control versus Stuve. I mean, Stuve still has a lot of riflemen with BAS, he's still got the captain, he still has a lot of firepower, so Stuve still has a chance here, but it's looking a lot more risky here for Stuve there. She just swarms about on the map. There you go, caught the machine gun bunker, troops suppressed. So what will Stuve do here to try and arrest control of the situation there from West control? Anyways, take control of the situation here from Stuve. Anti-tank away there to help give his opponents anti-tank weapons, not bad. Of course, there'll still be Pack 40 they could easily seize again and just turn against Fredbrik. But there you go, smoke's going to sit in the midst of it, allowing his troops to pass through there. Of course, there's still the Panzer IV to be worried about, but still, he successfully pushes Fredbrik off the centre there. His men are taking losses and got Grenadiers flanking behind here. You can see Stuve reacts very quickly to any notion of flanking counter-attacks to clear his flanks. Map control-wise, things are slipping a bit out of Stuve's hands here versus Fredbrik. Slipping a bit out of his hands. Panzer IV's going to need some serious repairs, and schnell. So Fredbrik there with good map control. He's got control of the victory points. He's got armour advantage. Stuve should probably reconsider his tactics and strategy to an extent anyways. Finally going back to victory point. He's also been quickly bleeding out there in the time without any victory point under his control. Rifleman is going to be here. He could actually popped into the ditch there just for a bit of extra protection, but apparently Fredbrik thought ditches are not for him. My God, we could get our uniforms dirty. We're in a war zone. Our uniforms are dirty. Another anti-tank in there from Stuve. Has lost one rifle squad now. Captain flanking behind. Interesting. Normally that shouldn't happen. Apparently for once the captain's actually replaced the Thompson runs around with a BAR, but normally that is not supposed to be the captain. Should just always be wielding a Thompson, but for whatever reasons he's actually misplaced it and is now wielding a BAR. There you go, 200 tank guns up for Stuve again. Fredbrik at this point looks like he's aiming for the Tiger, but he does some more out in the field. He's got a lot of infantry, he's got support weapons, he's in a much stronger position. So now, going for a Tiger, this is not a half-baked idea there for Fredbrik. Not a half-baked idea at all. There you go, he finally recruits the pack forward. He looks like he remembered where it was. Another smoke screen and the machine gun there. What else reminds field here from Fredbrik to cover any approach towards the fuel point there. Good work. Gute Arbeit, Leute. Oh dear, straight into all three anti-tankers. That is a bit risky there with the Panzer IV. That is a bit risky. There you go. Pack 4 lands and hit down the Panzer IV. Second one shoots, misses. Another miss there. Got the Stuve coming back in reserve in the far east. He's getting ever closer to the target tank, but the question is, of course, if Stuve can last that long. Because right now Stuve is just getting pummeled. Fredbrik is just in control of all the vital junctures of this map, making it very hard for Stuve to do a lot there. Troops being suppressed left and right. Yes, they try to push into the cemetery victory point. Trying to tank as they're covering up. We all got one abandoned. We got infantry in the east with the Stuve. Then we got the Panzer IV here, possibly waiting repairs. But he can easily push forward from the machine gun and his mortar much closer to the front line. And looks like he's setting up for something there to finish off Stuve, who's launching one counter tank for the center. There we got the anti-tank and shooting at the grenadiers. Mortar fire, rifle fire, machine gun fire, heavy main cannon fire there. Main cannon fire there. Finally pushed Fredbrik off the western point, but that's about it. Rifle grenade off the anti-tank guns there. And there you go, GG, game over. Stuve realizes the fight is lost. The 3rd Armored Division pulls back. Its assault against the 2nd Panzer Division has failed, a victory for Germany. A shorter fight here, but overall I think some good display of early aggressive tactics there by Stuve. Good infantry player overall, good use of smoke. But the overall issue for Stuve was basically just strategically, again, he made that big blunder some players do, which is he just focused on the heavy tank, but he's just been pushing for medium tanks, trying to maintain his edge. The problem was, by going for the person without anything in between, again, he put himself in the situation where it failed, you know, like it did right there. I mean, he had nothing to quickly follow up, he had nothing to support or supplement, meaning he had to go for another Pershing, could take and then sort of further delay himself, which he went for the 2nd Pershing. That then got dealt with, at which point Stuve's options were incredibly limited, whereas Fredbrik, you know, eventually was planning for the Tiger, but not before he actually stabilised the situation with medium armour, which gave Fredbrik the ability to actually push ahead of Stuve with his tanks, that way gain control of the field. So, good play of Fredbrik, also good use of mines, which is also something that Stuve has missed out on, whereas Fredbrik laid down S-mines, and of course that one critical teller mine, which I think could very likely, you know, well have won him the match to a large extent. I mean, again, had that Pershing not hit the teller mine there, he might actually be able to keep it alive. I think that would have done a lot better for Stuve, but again, the Pershing just hitting that teller mine, getting knocked out there, might even slightly tilted Stuve a bit there, causing him to just go for that other Pershing without considering any other options. It's hard to say there, but either way, well played there with Fredbrik, and well played by Stuve, but not quite well enough. So there you go, hope you enjoyed this match, hope you learned something from it. If you did, one, subscribe, tell a friends, share it with everyone. If not, send in a replay of your own pride and feedback in the comment section. This is Imperial Dancing. Cheers, thank you all for watching, hope you'll tomorrow for another stunning episode. Bye.